Hello fam, it's your boy Gabriel. Today we're going to talk about guns, germs, and steel, and I'm going to drink some whiskey while I do it. Ah, yeah, okay. Guns, Germs, and Steel is a global history book written by Jared Diamond. Jared Diamond, which is funny because Jared Diamond Jared Diamond Jewelers, maybe that dealers. And the subtitle is The Fates of Human Societies. And that's sort of what it talks about in regards to global history. It talks about why different places on the earth or different societies on the earth developed different things at different times, and why things like Europe invaded and conquered America and not the other way around occurred, and things of that nature. Um, and it basically tries to establish human history in a more scientific light and not necessarily a humanities light. And I mean, he's referring to something separate from like historians who are just repeating or interpreting history as a way of saying what happened back then without looking for causes and effects and things of that nature. That would still, in his or Jared's or Mr. Diamond's opinion, fall under humanities, I believe, um, because you're sort of introspectively viewing the information that you're uh, studying. What he is suggesting as a field of study is that you take uh, history and look at it as a big giant case study or natural experiment of human nature and how humans evolve and adapt to given varying stimuli. And for this particular uh, investigation, he was, like I said, investigating things of the nature of why some people are, or some groups of people are halves, aka first world countries, and why some countries are have-nots, aka third world countries. Third world countries. Um, and his hypothesis basically is that it isn't associated with any like racial thing, that it isn't that white people are somehow uh, ingenuitively superior or just smarter, the more ferocious compared to other people, or that Chinese people aren't uh, more structured inherently or anything like that. Um, his hypothesis is that it has something to do with where the groups of people are located in terms of the six inhabitable continents, because as we all know, there's sustained societies in every continent except for Antarctica. Antarctica, yes, there is a settlement, but I mean, it only exists because other things are shipped there, and the people wouldn't ever have been able to live there prior to the modern age and like thermotechnology and things of that nature. Um, or even having that, say we had that, I think he points out that we still haven't survived just because there isn't really, there aren't natural resources there that um, would allow us to like profitably or successfully survive in Antarctica. I don't know why I'm stressing the Antarctica point so much. Okay, it's just not one of the things that he's examining. People weren't there, as far as we know, prior to now. There weren't indigenous humans in Antarctica even now. Okay. And I think he does a really good job, like, just talking about all the, like, plants and where they naturally occurred. And I just realized you can see all four of the beetles except for my favorite one. Where's my favorite one? There's Ringo. He looks like a sad puppy. Yeah, he's my favorite. I love Ringo. Oh, I love Ringo. He just, he reminds me of my friend Ian Keith. Ian Keith's a cool dude. What was I saying? Yeah, okay. And the domesticatable animals and things like that and where they came from and the areas that they were in. He talks all about that sort of nature of things. And goes over all of that. And you see how the Americas didn't really have these things, how Africa, even though it has the most large mammals to date, uh, doesn't have the most domesticatable ones. And I didn't know this, but people don't breed elephant, or I guess I didn't think of it. People don't breed elephants for use. They capture them and tame them. They're not domesticated, which is pretty interesting. I was under the impression that someone at some point uh, was farming or doing something with elephants where they were breeding them with the purpose of having more elephants. Like I thought that maybe had been how Hannibal had done it, or that the armies that Hannibal recruited were doing that. It's kind of weird that you can tame it. I guess it has to do with the food content that an elephant takes. I think that's what Jared covered in regards to elephants. I'm rambling. Anyways, it talks about how food production allows for denser populations to exist, and denser populations means there's more individuals who can invent stuff and get diseases and spread them around and get adapted to the diseases and do mob immunity and things of that nature. And I mean, it's really cool. It like is very scientific. Honestly, it's really deep and dense, and just how methodically he goes through and explains these things is in itself a very good example of how this could be a science, and how there's other issues that history needs to answer, and that knowing how these things affect our development and things of that nature could help us shape for a brighter future, which I think is probably like the reason that you read a book about history, and I think the reason that a lot of people study history is so that you can learn from your past mistakes and you don't repeat them. Also, history repeats itself, but the reasons history repeats itself is due to a lack of understanding uh, of the flaws, or a lack of associating what you are about to do with what has been previously done hundreds and thousands and millions of billions of times. And the fact that you see it as such an individualized, specific to you, it's a different scenario, and no scenario has ever happened exactly like this one before, is human nature. You want to be individualistic, you want to be yourself, and you have that separate entity idea, Descartes, I think, therefore I am thing going on. But at the end of the day, people are animals too, and nothing is really all that unique. art is everything ever and all those sorts of ideas like that, you kind of shouldn't remove yourself from the equation so much. You should see that you fit in with everything else to some degree, and you aren't necessarily this completely separate organism. You are part of a grander scheme of things. And I'm thoroughly buzzed. I have a 3-day weekend coming up, which will be cool. I'm gonna make some really good shot videos, and we'll get some funny stuff in there, and we'll have a good time. I love all of you, fam, and I'll see you tomorrow.